Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We're presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, we've got good friend of the program, Dieter Kurtenbach, fresh off of watching, what was, I guess, like kind of a, I don't want to say it was a depressing game last night. Like having to go to the Thunder Warriors game. Like it's always okay, I guess, to see ring night. Eric Hausen got a great ovation. That was probably the peak of the night.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it was sloppy as hell, man. The Thunder didn't have Russell Westbrook. The Warriors didn't have any conditioning. It was a hot mess.
So here's what we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about the Great British Bake Show. We're going to talk about Haunting on Hill House.
Ahead of you, man.
Have you seen Haunting of Hill House yet?
I have not. I haven't even heard of that. What's the deal with Haunting of Hill House?
Very, very good horror show on Netflix. It just came out, I think, last week.
Oh, God. My girlfriend's going to listen to this, and now I'm going to be sucked. Despite the fact that I am a very brazen and outspoken individual who I'd like to think lives fairly fearlessly in terms of the bullshit that I spew out there, I do not care for spooky movies. Like, I really liked the movie Hereditary, but that was more of a psychological thriller than a horror movie. It kind of turned into a horror movie at the end, kind of a what do they call them, like a jump scare movie or whatever. But
which, by the way, terrifying horror movie at the end.
I was laughing my ass off because I don't know why, but like for some reason I was just into it. Like I felt like I was in the right mode, that I had been primed for whatever 90 minutes, an hour beforehand, to where then I'm like, okay, yes, bring it on. Like anything can happen and I'm prepared for it. Whereas with most horror movies, it's just loud and jumpy and I don't know. I don't feel like I get the emotional back. But I need context. I need some foreplay here before I can get into that kind of stuff. So if you're telling me that's what's going on with this Netflix series, I'm okay with it. But
it is. It actually is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'll report back.
By the way, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here because this was in the trailers, but like Toni Collette like climbing on the ceiling in Hereditary.
So awesome.
100% woke up the night that I saw that movie, like thinking someone was climbing on my ceiling.
There is a thing that I will not give away that that scared the bejesus out of my girlfriend, and my initial response in the theater when everyone freaked out was just to let out a deep, loud cackle, which is very unbecoming, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. That's what I want from a horror movie. I want it to be so scary that I find it funny. I don't find that to be the case in very many things. And otherwise, like, why would what emotional positivity do I glean from going and just getting the shit scared out of me for 2 hours? Like,
see,
what enjoyment? Who enjoys that kind of stuff? What kind of masochist are you?
See, I agree with that generally. I will say, like, Laura is a huge fan of scary movies.
What is the deal with these women in the scary movies?
It has gotten me into them a little bit.
Isn't life scary enough?
Yeah, it has gotten me into it a little bit more. Haunting of Hill House isn't really like wildly scary. It's much better in terms of relationships and characters. But it's very good, and there are scary parts. We're not going to talk about horror movies today.
We got to get into this because First Man sucked.
I've not seen First Man yet.
It's a bad movie. The moon landing is cool, but the rest of it, like Heather and I walked out of it and we're like, did that movie kind of suck? Like Ryan Gosling's a bad actor. He's not good at this.
Oh, okay, I saw Venom too. We'll talk about Venom at the end because I'm
going to see Venom soon.
Venom is not bad.
Seen it yet. The choice was between First Man and Venom, and I talked my girlfriend, super huge Spider-Man fan growing up, and Venom was my favorite comic book character in the world. And I'm a little bit jaded from the reviews. I've heard ups, I've heard downs. I'm going to have to see it. It will be seen. But I'm like, no, let's go see First Man. It's one of those. We had just seen A Star Is Born, which is very good, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of in a what's going to be nominated for Academy Awards sort of a mode. Let's get this one out of the way.
That is not Venom.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just saw A Star Is Born. It would feel like a strange juxtaposition to then go to Venom, and so it's like, let's just stay in this mode because I know what a good movie looks like, and I can evaluate a First Man better. It is not a good movie.
No.
It's not. Listen, it's not like laughably bad. It's not like, some C-list level pile of crap. Like, it's decently directed. It's just it's supposed to be a biopic, which, okay, I get it. For Neil Armstrong, who does not, like, other than his accomplishment, other than the act of the moon landing, like, he doesn't deserve a biopic.
I was going to say, isn't he like kind of a boring dude?
Totally.
Like, other than that? Which is like a fucking incredible accomplishment, but like, you got to have a little bit more there.
Make the movie about the goddamn accomplishment. It's incredible. This man, I guess he's incredible in his own sense, but like he's emotionally devoid. Like there's nothing to connect to. Okay, that's it. It's a bad movie. It's a bad movie. And they could not have cast. Maybe they cast a perfect actor in Ryan Gosling, but Jesus Christ, I mean, you want to talk about someone who is impossibly to emotionally connect to. It's a blank slate, man. It's really rough.
You have no soul. This episode, we are going to talk about basketball at some point. We'll see. We're going to talk about opening night in the NBA. We're going to open with Boston and the 76ers. We're going to talk about the game that Dieter was at last night, the Thunder and the Warriors. And then we're going to talk about just things we're excited to watch in the first week of NBA, which kicks off tonight, or I guess tips off theoretically. But
tips off.
I pulled a Jason Witten. Kicks off in basketball. Pulled a rabbit out of my head.
So bad. I had to watch the entire Monday Night Football game. I was supposed to be in Green Bay, but then the 49ers quarterback blew out his ACL. So I'm like, I would rather go to Warriors opening night, which, given the state of those two games, somewhat of a regret. But I got to watch an entire game of Jason Witten calling Monday Night Football. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Not good.
It was a little bit rough. I think that's going to be it for the podcast. We just kind of bullshit. So let's open with Boston and the 76ers. So Boston won, I believe, 105-87.
Correct.
To me, this was a very predictable result. Like I actually bet on Boston to win last night.
What was the spread?
It was 5.5.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The reason I did that is because, I think Philadelphia is going to miss the spacing provided by Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova that they got so comfortable with late in the year. There are going to be some growing pains for Markelle Fultz, and I think Boston is just generally going to be a little bit more prepared coming into the year because they just kind of kept the status quo last year. And, the other thing here, too, is that Philadelphia took a China trip, and I'm sure that you talked to Warriors, Warriors last year, and teams really don't like these trips. Like, it really throws them out of whack. It throws them like totally off of their momentum because athletes really do like a sense of, familiarity and a sense of the status quo and just like to be able to not coast because elite level athletes certainly don't coast, but they like to be able to keep things in a rhythm, and that really knocks things out of rhythm.
I think more so than anything, they just don't like having to go to the other side of the world and pretend as if it's normal. Like, they don't get enough time to adapt. You need a couple of days to just get into the notion that I don't even know the time difference. It's got to be 13, 14 hours. It's you essentially go nocturnal in some senses, and that's just not something that the body easily adapts to. You're adding in high-level exercise, in theory, in preseason basketball. You're adding in all of the media responsibilities, which are prodigious compared to what's going on at home. The Warriors used it as an excuse all the way up into and even a little bit in the playoffs. And I don't think that was them just squeezing sour grapes. Like, I honestly think it took them forever. You don't get time to recoup in the season. So if you have a small issue, it can compound. And it just doesn't. You just cannot eliminate stuff like that. It just doesn't go away. Those China trips are rough, man. They need to start either telling teams to, start preseason at the beginning of September, and you do it then, and so that they can come back and get maybe a whole week to just readjust before they do a normal preseason, if you will. But
I think that's the move. If you're going to do these trips, do them extremely early in the season.
I mean, and the other thing too is, the NFL has been going to London, which is not as much of a jump, if you will. Right. But at the same time, those games are totally messed up. I mean, every one of them is rough. And some of those are just East Coast teams going, which is essentially more or less, I mean, marginally different, but more or less the same as just an East Coast team going to the West Coast if you're going from, say, Jacksonville to London. But if you're a West Coast team, I mean, body clocks are real, man. And it really is. It's rough. And the other thing, too, is those games are supposed to, the NBA pushes a bit more competition in those games. They want, the stars to be out there for more minutes.
Yeah.
I just don't think it fits into the normal preseason schedule the way teams want to do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if this messes up the Sixers in small ways. I mean, it's not going to affect them maybe in the fact that, like, they're not going to be a good team. Like, they're going to be good. They're going to win 50 games. But
yeah.
It might be the difference, honestly. I mean, or it might play into the difference between winning 55 and winning 51. And that could be home court advantage in the Eastern Conference. So
yeah,
first round.
I think it's that. I think that it's going to be the difference between, potentially a 6-5 start and an 8-3 start. And
for sure. And that's all. And that makes a big difference at the end.
It does. So let's talk about Boston first, because Boston won the game, even though we just kind of talked about Philadelphia for, I guess a couple minutes.
They're more interesting. Boston was the favorite. Boston, we know Boston's a known entity, I guess, at this point, to a certain degree.
A little bit, yeah.
They listen, like, I don't think anyone expected Boston to look bad. They're so loaded that they can get away with having Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward look a couple of steps behind and still win. Whereas the Sixers have a lot of stuff to figure out. I think they're overly experimenting, to be honest.
Yeah, so let's talk about, before we get into Hayward, because that'll play a role in the Athletic advertisement that we've got this week.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about Jayson Tatum, because Jayson Tatum was the best player on the floor last night.
He real good.
The craziest number that I've seen so far in regard to the way that he played last night is he only had 59 touches. Someone like Ben Simmons had like 111. I believe that Kyrie Irving was over 80. Joel Embiid was over 90. And Jayson Tatum dropped 23 points. He led the game in scoring along with Joel. And seemed to take advantage of every single touch that he got. He just really was always probing or was always trying to get a mismatch. I thought it was very interesting that, I don't know if it was a wrinkle Philadelphia tried to throw or if Joel just asked Brett Brown to guard Jayson Tatum because they work out together all the time in the offseason with Drew Hanlon. And he was like, yeah, like I want to guard Jayson this game. But
not a great idea.
Matchup really was advantageous for Boston in many ways, I thought.
For sure.
Jayson was able to get separation for our mid-range jumper basically whenever. You can talk about whether or not those shots are particularly, efficient, but whenever it's Jayson getting them in rhythm and just being able to just go up and knock down shots against a mismatch like that, to me, those are efficient shots for him. He can make those pretty easily. So I don't know why Philadelphia did that, but I'm glad to see Jayson continue to take that leap as potentially, I don't think he's going to be Boston's best player this year, but he certainly looks like he could be that all-star caliber player that I said he probably would be whenever I made a bold prediction on the last podcast that we did, where I said he was going to make the all-star team this year.
Yeah, I believe my response to that was that's not a bold prediction because Jayson Tatum's really good. You look at some of the advanced numbers, those touch numbers that you threw out were actually spot on. He only had 59 touches, which is astounding, though if you watch the game, it makes, obviously it's a tracking number. You saw only an 83 offensive rating, a 72 defensive rating for Tatum last night. I agree with you on perhaps the inefficiency of the mid-range, but when you have a true shooting percentage of 59, like, who cares? Like, it got the job done in that game, and obviously the matchups are going to be different in every game going forward. The player that stood out most to me on the Celtics was his young star cohort, Jaylen Brown. I thought Brown was fantastic in this contest. He was
very
just
good.
really offensively aggressive, and if you have him attacking the hoop. He's got a nice jumper, don't get me wrong, but that's not going to be his game. If you have him attacking the hoop with the spacing that you can create with Horford and Hayward and Irving and then even Morris and Rozier, like Marcus Smart was knocking down threes yesterday. When you have that kind of a team, and then you have Brown with all of that athleticism just going at it and breaking stuff down, this Celtics team, this looks like the tip of the iceberg for them in terms of what they could be. Again, it is not figured out at all with Hayward. Irving looks a step behind. I thought, Brad Stevens did a little bit of strange experimenting.
I don't know that Kyrie looked a step behind. I think that he just shot poorly. Because you look at him, he had a great night in terms of distributing the ball. He had a great night getting his teammates involved. Yes. I think he just shot poorly, which is fine.
He didn't look like he was running all that well. To be honest,
maybe.
To you. He didn't look. Listen, Kyrie Irving is incredible, and one of the things that he does better than maybe all but a handful of players in the NBA is control the pace. And he did that on occasion against the Sixers, but I didn't feel his influence on the game as much as I usually do. And that's not to say that he's some sort of ball hog, ISO player or anything at all. Just controlling the tempo, controlling the pace. It just didn't seem. It was a lot more of a flowy offense, and it got disjointed at times because I thought Kyrie just wasn't imposing himself as much. And I guess that's a double-edged sword. But he didn't look like the Kyrie Irving that I'm used to. He didn't look like peak Kyrie Irving, optimal Kyrie Irving. I don't think he's very far away from that. I don't think it's going to take him too far. Maybe it was just a bad game, but certainly not Kyrie's best performance. We'll get into Hayward here after the ad. I thought it was kind of strange, Brad Stevens playing both Baines and Horford together. Obviously, that's not a totally new thing.
I think it's a matchup-dependent thing.
Right, and especially when you have Simmons, who they're just daring to take jump shots, so you can put two centers on the floor and say one of them guards Ben.
They're comfortable with Al guarding Ben.
But they only had a 9-man rotation. I mean, Daniel Theis got 4 minutes, but it was really only 9 guys, and they got some great contributions from Smart, and Rozier was fantastic. Rozier might have been the Celtics' best player yesterday for the time he played.
Did you just refer to Daniel Theis as like Reggie Theus's little brother?
Theis. CI. We know that I can't pronounce shit. We know that by now, right?
I'm all in on the Daniel Theus, Reggie Theus family now. Oh man,
brother from another mother. It's you just see so much potential in the Celtics team, and they put together a pretty solid performance. But like, sky is the limit. Again, Brown was so good. Everyone's going to look at that sort of dunk that he had on Embiid.
Can we have the great debate on whether or not that was a poster on
it's
Joel
not a poster.
Embiid?
You have to finish with your hand on the damn rim for it to be a poster. Joel Embiid went up with 2. I thought it was incredible defense, if we're being totally honest. He went up with 2 hands and blocked the shot.
It was remarkably impressive by both parties because
don't take anything away from Jaylen Brown, but like the shot was blocked.
But like
sorta.
It was certainly blocked. Like Joel did a great job blocking.
It was an own goal.
But then like Jaylen Brown is so strong that he just powered the ball through the block.
But there was a play earlier in the game where Brown got totally just owned at the rim by Embiid, and I'm pretty sure that's Jaylen Brown's like, I have a chance, I will redeem myself, and he didn't. Even though it looked really cool, he did not redeem himself. That does not count.
Yeah, Joel was interesting last night. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to keep on Boston real quick here because Gordon Hayward, I think, is a person worth speaking about at the very least within the context of this. Over at The Athletic, you can go watch a video series that they did, in conjunction with the Players Tribune, kind of documenting Gordon Hayward's return over the course of the last year to the court, and it's very interesting, and you should go there. You can subscribe to The Athletic by using theathletic.com/game theory. What did you think of the official return of Gordon Hayward to the Boston Celtics?
He kind of continued his preseason form. He looks sluggish. He looks out of rhythm.
Sluggish, I think, is the wrong word. I think that he looks out of rhythm for sure. And I think he doesn't look like he has the burst. He doesn't look like he has the lift yet. But I thought he played super hard last night.
Okay, that's a semantical argument. I think
a little bit, but like sluggish. When I think of sluggish, I think of like a person not like kind of dragging a little bit.
Okay, yeah. That's not how I use it. Let's stick with out of rhythm. I thought that the pace of the game looked to be a little much for him at times. That he didn't really know where to fit in at times. His jumper was not in. It was not in rhythm. He didn't look like he knew his release point at a couple of instances.
Yeah.
But like that stuff's gonna come because I think it's all in his head. Honestly, I think his body is probably there. He's just not. He looked kind of like a rookie in some ways. And like that stuff's just going to come by being out there and being in the environment and conditioning himself, probably mentally more than physically, to the pace of the NBA game. Let's also establish that this was a helter-skelter game for the first like quarter and a half. I mean, just back and forth. The game was played at a 105 pace. I'm shocked that the number is that low because I'm looking at this right now. I mean, every single player's pace rating is above 105. So how the hell was the pace 105?
It slowed down at the end, but like all of the main players, I think that the pace at the end of the first half was like 55 or 56 possessions. Yeah. So it slowed down in the last couple minutes when Boston had the game in like under wraps.
So, but you can see how he fits into this offense. You can see what he can do. There were moments that you looked upon Gordon Hayward and you go, oh man, just another weapon for these guys. But it's just going to take some time for him to get into it. And I don't know how long that period of time is. It could be a couple of games. It could be a couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, but he's going to get there. And I don't know if we're ever going to get Utah Gordon Hayward just because I don't think he's going to get the volume of touches. But, man, it's just another really good player for them. It's just going to take some time to come together, and luckily they're so loaded. I mean, they really look like they can be a juggernaut. The one thing that I took away from that game wasn't so much, okay, the Celtics are the cream of the crop in the Eastern Conference. I still think that, even though I'm picking Toronto to go to the finals. It's just that, goddamn, in 3 years, if these guys stay together, if Al Horford opts out and signs for a lower number, if Kyrie Irving sticks around, if they're able to find a way, I don't know how, to keep Terry Rozier, which doesn't seem all that possible, but even so, with Tatum and Brown and Hayward, and it's just like these guys are going to be the next team after the Warriors break up, whenever the hell that might be. This is it. This you can't even buy stock low. Everyone knows this is the next big thing. They looked like a juggernaut in the making, and they haven't even come close to figuring it all out yet.
Yeah, in regard to Hayward, I thought that I agreed with basically everything you just said. His shot was out of rhythm. He was shooting like on the way down. It looked a little push shotty to me, which was a little bit weird. Like he never used to do that in Utah. So I'm very interested in just watching how he continues to go. But you're right. The mind seemed to be there. He was in passing lanes constantly. Like he was an absolute terror for Philadelphia, trying to deal with all of the foibles of Boston's defense. And we'll talk about that when we get to Philadelphia here in a second.
But the thing is, like, he knows where to be. Yeah. He's just not always there.
Incredibly smart basketball player.
He is a plus player for the Boston Celtics right now.
Yes.
And he is not even close. He's a C-level Gordon Hayward, and he's a plus player for the Boston Celtics. What the hell happens when he gets to B? What the hell happens when he gets to A? Like, he's really, really good. And smart is the absolute right word. And I know it's always this cliche that the white guy's smart, but he is. There's a reason that Brad Stevens gave this guy all the money. Like, this is the guy that can unlock a lot of stuff for this Boston team. And they're just so blessed that they also have Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, two guys of a similar mold, perhaps with Tatum more athletic ability, with Brown a bit more defensive acumen. Their wing rotation is just something to be in awe of.
If you want to learn more about Gordon Hayward's return to the basketball court, go to theathletic.com/gametheory. I can offer you a 30% off of a first-year subscription. That'll be $3.50 a month. I don't know about you, but like, I pay more for any cup of coffee out here, but I live in Los Angeles. I mean, coffee's expensive,
Yeah.
What can you do? But
you a fancy boy.
I am not above buying a $7 cup of coffee. if it is like a Stumptown, like cold brew, like awesome cup. But, maybe that's just me being, just a ridiculous human being.
Think about the amount of beers. I don't know why I'm standing for the Athletic here, but let's talk about the $3.50 range. We both live in California. We are accustomed to the high price of beer out here. A decent IPA, not even a good one, a decent one is going to run you $6-7 around these parts. Half of that you can get. What can you get, Sam?
You can get a year's subscription to The Athletic for $3.50 a month. The Athletic is a subscription-based publisher of smarter sports coverage for diehard fans. Its model is simple: no ads, no pop-ups, and no autoplay videos. In light of the craziness with Facebook that has come out, where it's very clear that their video tracking software has been throwing the media industry into a tizzy. Dieter knows that better than most people.
Fuck those guys.
It's worth noting that The Athletic, they didn't jump in with the Facebook model of trying to get video plays. The Athletic has no videos other than this Gordon Hayward one, which is really well done and really awesome. Instead, readers subscribe for authentic, in-depth coverage written by journalists who know their teams inside out. For Boston, we've got Jared Weiss, we've got Jay King, we've got everyone up there who does a great job in the northeastern part of the country. For Philadelphia, we've got Derek Bodner. Derek's great. Mike O'Connor's great. Coverage goes beyond game recaps and trade speculation to provide smarter analysis. Subscribers have access to local content like those teams, as well as national content like what I do whenever I have draft coverage coming out here in the next week and a half or so. There's 650 to 700 news stories published every week across all sports. Subscribe to theathletic.com/game theory and be a part of the future of sports journalism. Let's talk about the 76ers. The 76ers are definitely more interesting to me than Boston because they...
Yeah, everyone likes to look at a bit of a car wreck.
So I am I'm not as worried as what a lot of people are. I understand why there's real concern here because in many ways Philadelphia's future and their success this season will partly, at least, if not mostly, be defined by how they can compete against Boston. Because Boston is the team they are competing with to ascend to the top of the Eastern Conference.
Right.
Boston, though, is just a matchup nightmare for them. They have so many ways of causing issues for Philadelphia, particularly in the way that they defend in the half court. If you watch the game, I thought Philadelphia had a really good game plan early in this game because, like we said with pace, where it was like a 55-56 possession game in the first half, that was Philadelphia pushing the pace. They wanted to get this thing going. They wanted to beat Boston's defense down the floor, and Ben, I thought, did a really great job of doing that. He was a very, very good player on the floor last night. 19 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists. He only turned the ball over 3 times. He was awesome, but whenever they got into half court, it was a mess. And the reason for that is that they ran this heavy post-up style of offense in the half court where they relied on Joel, they relied on Ben getting a mismatch, and then tried to get kickouts to guys like Dario or guys like Covington. They ran some dribble handoff stuff with JJ Redick, and look, JJ Redick went 2 for 8 from 3. He just kind of missed a few open shots. That's fine. But here's the deal. Nothing about that offense in the half court last night looked competent against Boston. But Boston is the team that creates the most unique issues for them because Brad is an incredible defensive coach. And B, they cut off driving lanes so well because they have a unique combination of size and foot speed to where Ben can kind of be stymied a little bit. They also do a really good job of creating a game plan of cutting off passing angles into those post-ups to Joel, into Ben. Because Ben and because Markelle Fultz and even Dario Saric to an extent, these guys aren't great pull-up shooters. It's a lot harder for them to get the angle for entry passes where Joel can pin a guy really deep. So the offensive scheme that Philadelphia was running last night, I think they need to throw that out and start from scratch whenever they're playing Boston in the playoffs. You can't do that right now.
Can't disagree with that.
I'm just not as worried because I want to see them over the course of the next month play. I think that they're probably going to start out something like 7-4 or something, and we're going to be like, okay, this is fine. Philadelphia is still good.
Yeah, I'm not so easily persuaded on that front. I think that they did a lot of stuff to shoot themselves in the foot, or kick themselves in the foot, as Jason Witten would say. It was really bad.
Shout out Jason Witten, man.
Sorry, seems like a nice guy. The Fultz Simmons thing. Listen, man, I get it.
I want to talk about Markelle in a minute here. I agree.
Yeah, it does. I don't get it. I don't get it. Listen, I am not saying give up on Markelle Fultz or anything like that. But the way that they're using him currently makes no damn sense to me, and I think it was the culprit of a lot of the disjointedness in the half-court offense. Ben Simmons still the damn point guard of this team? Because I'm not sure Ben Simmons is fully aware on a possession-by-possession basis if he is. And that is something you got to figure out. If you have two quarterbacks, you have none, right? I have no problem with having multiple ball handlers on the court, but the offense...
Here's how I know Ben knows that he's the quarterback. If you look at their touch numbers last night, Ben had 111 touches, whereas Markelle had 36. Like it's
right. But it's not. Yes, of course, you're always going to give Ben Simmons more touches than Markelle Fultz in that regard. But Ben Simmons was hanging around to get the ball when sometimes they were pushing the ball up the court. And it's like, whenever Fultz gets the ball, they want to go. That is how they're going to build up his confidence or whatever. But Simmons is like, this is my job. That's what I do. I'm one of the best in the NBA at just going coast to coast and making stuff happen based off of my incredible length and athleticism. And now you're letting Markelle Fultz get some of those touches from me? Like, you're taking away not just what I am best at, but what we are best at. When we're playing our best basketball when I'm pushing the pace, and now we're just giving those touches to Fultz. It doesn't make any sense. When you look also at the bench, okay, yes, Redick was fine. He went 2 for 8. But he looked like a good player out there, all things considered. 16 points, 7 of 17 from the floor. Yeah. You're not getting or losing anything, I would argue, defensively, Redick or Fultz.
I think Fultz was okay defensively last night.
Fultz is fine, and I think he has a lot of upside in that department as well, and I know the Sixers are really high on that. But, like, here's their bench rotation. Amir Johnson, who was pretty bad. He played 11 minutes. J.J. Redick got 30, and then T.J. McConnell and Landry Shamet or whatever. Like, that's it. You don't have a great bench. So my question is, why are you starting Markelle Fultz in this effort to sort of rehabilitate his confidence?
Well, I think that they do that for a couple. You mentioned it with rehabilitate the confidence, but I also think it's because look at the net ratings. It's a better way to do it. Look at the net ratings for this bench, man. Minus 40 in the 11 minutes per 100 possessions that Amir Johnson was on the floor. Minus 24.4 for TJ McConnell. Minus 36.8 for Landry Shamet. JJ Redick, they were only a minus 17 per 100 possessions when he was on the floor.
But he played with a lot of the starters.
He played with a lot of the starters. But
I think that they're going about it the wrong way. You want to build up Fultz's confidence. Why does he need to start? In fact, have him anchor a second unit. Then you have a competent bench. He's getting all of the touches. You play him when Simmons is out. You have a clear-cut point guard. If you want to call it a hierarchy and he wants to think about it that way, so be it. But like, there are plenty of really good players who come off the bench and have no problem with it and don't make a fuss and play their role.
Well, like Ben played 43 minutes last night, though.
Right.
Like, what, are you going to play him for 5 minutes?
If Ben has to play 42 minutes every game, they're not going to
they're in trouble.
have much Ben come playoffs. I just found it so damn strange. You can play Redick. You maintain one of the best lineups in the NBA, which is what they had when Redick was in that 5-man group last year. You have Fultz play his 25 minutes, as most of them coming as the anchor of the second unit. I guess that kind of puts TJ McConnell out, but like, what are you losing in that regard? Like, this team looks flawed. That's what I'm getting at, and I think that putting Markelle Fultz, who now you have two guys who can't shoot, right? So if you have two guys who can't shoot, and Embiid, who apparently is supposed to be Hakeem Olajuwon this year and isn't really spacing the floor as much. So now you need Robert Covington and Dario Saric to knock down all of their open shots, which they didn't do, and that's why they lost. It's a very thin margin for error when you when you have two guys who can't shoot on the floor. And so
that's what I think last night proved more than anything, is that Philadelphia's margin for error when it comes to shooting threes and being able to space the floor is very thin. Here's what I'll say about Markelle Fultz and the way that he's being used. I think it's smart right now. I think he probably should be in the starting lineup. The reason that I say that is because of A, what I talked about with JJ Redick. B, they have the presence of TJ McConnell, who to me is one of the 10 best backup point guards in the NBA.
No, I get that. I understand that.
And then C, for Markelle Fultz to reach his potential with Philadelphia, he has to play with Ben. Like, they have to figure out how that works. Like, they have to make that work. So getting him as much time as possible in highly competitive situations like the NBA regular season, I think it's very valuable. Now, you have to start him. If you're going to start him game 3 and game 4 and game 2, you have to start him game 1. I think Boston is an incredibly difficult matchup for him, like I mentioned earlier, because they're not afraid to just say, fucking shoot it, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But like, what other team in the NBA is well-coached team in the NBA isn't just going to go full playoff mode and dare Markelle to shoot and dare Ben to shoot? There was so much slacking off on defense for Boston. That's bad. They play
Chicago tomorrow. Like, Chicago can't really do that because they don't have anyone to defend Ben. Like, Ben will just get to the rim constantly because he covers so much ground and is stronger and is quicker than everyone on that roster defensively.
So what, is Markelle Fultz a spot-up shooter in that regard?
Well, I don't know that they have anyone to guard Fultz. Like, that to me is a game.
I mean, they got Dunn.
Sure, that's true. They do have Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn will be on Markelle Fultz. Chris Dunn's awesome. I love Chris Dunn.
He's a really good perimeter defender. I mean, it's all he's good at, but he's good at that.
Chris Dunn is, like, to me, one of the 5 best perimeter defenders in the NBA. I think he's unbelievable.
And Markelle Fultz looked hesitant to shoot even mid-range, wide-open mid-range jump shots against Boston when they were leaving him wide open and daring him to shoot. He only shot 7 times. He had way more opportunities than that.
So I guess that my thing is with it. Fultz needs to play with these guys.
I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
Like, you have to play him there. You have to get him used to playing off the ball more. And look, like, at Washington, this is what it all comes back to. Like, at Washington, he played off the ball, like, somewhat regularly. Like,
he's a good combo guard, or he can be a good combo guard.
Yeah, like, not all the time. Like, more often than not, he was the lead guy. But, you know, he played next to David Crisp, like, somewhat regularly. And it all comes back to the fact that he is just nowhere remotely close to what he was at Washington.
No, it's really sad.
It's very strange to me. Like, last night looked more confident than anything I saw from him last year.
And he was still really bad.
And it was still a significant problem. It's the lack of jump shot has filtrated throughout his entire game, because the one significant thing that people would question about Markelle Fultz coming into the draft in terms of his game was he's not like this elite burst guy. He has ridiculous change of pace. He is so creative, great change of direction. He can get to the rim because of that, but guys like that, they have to have the threat of the jump shot as a pull-up weapon to make it all tie together. Fultz had that in college. He was a very good shooter off the dribble in college.
He was awesome. He would do that. He would get 2 dribbles, stop, pull back, knock down a 15, 17-footer time and time again.
Or 3 even. Like, he could pull up into a 3 with ease. He shot 40% from 3 as a freshman. Like, this is the most bizarre
and it wasn't an aberration either. Like, he
shot it in high school.
Shot.
Yeah, like it's very bizarre. And I can't remember anything like this where a player just totally loses what he's good at.
We both watch enough baseball and golf to understand what the yips are.
But, like, Steve Sachs gets brought up, right?
Or Chuck
and
Knobloch,
guys like Chuck
or Rick
Knobloch
Ankiel,
get brought up. But like,
certainly every golfer's had the yips.
Yeah, like Rick Ankiel to me is probably the most apt comparison. Like
right.
Rick Ankiel, like Chuck Knobloch, he was a small second baseman. I think Chuck probably made like 1 or 2 All-Star games, but like he got the most out of his potential until his
right. Yeah, Ankiel though, I mean, he was a star.
Right.
He was a hot shot, and
then one thing went wrong.
It just all fell apart.
And everything fell apart. Yeah. So
and on live TV. Like, that was the even more crazy part. You could see the meltdown happening in real time.
But, like, basketball players in general tend to have more self-confidence than, like, any human beings I've ever met before. So,
Factual.
like, to see him just generally lose that it's very strange to me. And I don't know how to quantify it. I don't know how to, like, react to it, other than to just really hope that it gets better.
Well, and my question is, how is it going to get better when I don't think that they're getting very good direction as a 5-man unit for how to integrate Markelle into what was a pretty well-oiled machine, all things considered, with this 5-man unit. Like, is he the point guard? Is he a combo guard? Ben Simmons and him need to find an understanding. I think he's definitely
the off-ball guy. Like, I think
I totally agree. But that was not the indication that I picked up on often last night. There were a lot of times when it looked like Brent Brown just like, Markelle's the guy bringing the ball. Like, there is no synergy, and maybe that's just something that has to be worked out. But you would like to think that going into the season there would be some sort of an understanding between him and Simmons, which I think is the crux of the issue, and I didn't see any.
And that's the other thing, too. When they were in half-court settings, like, his teammates just didn't look comfortable passing him the ball.
Nope. And he didn't look comfortable when he had it.
I don't even know that he didn't look comfortable. Like, there are a couple possessions where he tried to probe and drive and, like, just got shut down. That's fine. That happens. He tried to shoot, I think, 3 pull-up jumpers. Okay, he made 1 of them. Sure. It's just that, like, he was their last resort whenever they got into trouble. And everything he did,
last resort.
Everything he did after that point was outside of the flow of the offense. And that's what scares me now. I don't really know where to go from here until he gets that confidence back. Playing him with the starters and trying to build up that confidence, I think, is the right move. I just think it's going to be a struggle for the next little while this happens, while this process continues.
I can't disagree with you on you want him to learn how to play with Ben Simmons, but I think you have to graduate to that lineup, honestly. You have to earn your way in.
I get that.
And given the problems this team is going to have on the bench, given, listen, he needs to learn how to play with TJ McConnell too. And given the issues this team is going to have with depth, and given the minutes that Simmons had to play last night, I would just much rather see Fultz get his opportunities and maybe a more meaningful. I think he would get more meaning out of the minutes if he was anchoring the second unit, because he doesn't have an opportunity to think about it too much. He's not the last resort. He's the first option, and he's got to either take over or get the fuck off the court.
Here's the other problem with that, though. Like, trying to play him as the point guard in that unit, like, the starters actually have better floor spacing than the bench group does.
I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, by the way, it's not as if it's a complete bench unit and they're doing a line shift. Like, usually there's another starter or 2 on the floor. I mean, they just don't have a deep enough rotation. But he can. He can play off McConnell. If you want to teach him how to play off the ball, let's make sure he can play off of TJ McConnell before we go to Ben Simmons. Because let's be honest, the parts of the 76ers team are not normal. Simmons is a uber athletic point guard who just wants to run at the rim. You have Embiid, who is both one of the best post-up players in the NBA and also a threat in the pick and pop game. You have Covington and Saric, who are spot-up shooters who really don't want to put the ball on the floor at all. And then
Saric can, but Covington
Saric can. They also want Saric to, like, post up every now and again now, which is, I don't know. And then we all know what JJ Redick is. But, like, I would just, if you're going to build up this guy's confidence, putting him into this offense, which is already strange and being like, figure it out amongst these guys who don't trust you. I just don't think that's the right path. I really don't. And add in the China stuff, add in the fact that they were playing the Celtics, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it confirms a lot of the worst suspicions. That first game confirms a lot of the worst suspicions about the Sixers this year, which probably amplifies those suspicions to levels that are unfair. But man, I'm finding it hard to find reasons for optimism here.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and be like optimistic about it. I'm just like in a wait and see.
Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah, like
I agree with you. Wait and see is always the way to
yet.
play it. Always the way to play it. But man, I mean, Markelle Fultz doesn't look like a new man.
No. The other thing I want to talk about too is like Joel Embiid played really well defensively last night, I thought.
Yeah, he did.
Offensively, I thought he was kind of a mess. 23 points on 23 shooting possessions. Just kind of looked like a black hole a bit too often whenever he touched the ball. In the bullshit, like, you know, that pass at the top of the key in the first half where it's just like nonsensical, lackadaisical, and it gets picked off for a pick six. Like, that's the shit that he needs to get out of his game. That is the most frustrating part of what he does, and I think it's the thing that holds him back most from being an elite player. He had 5 turnovers last night. Like, this was not a single one-off occurrence. Like, that is the decision that stands for the whole when it comes to Joel Embiid, and that is what's scary.
I think the bigger issue, again, I think it comes back to Fultz. Like, how are you going to find a flow in this offense? I think that they're asking him to post up too often. They're not using... Listen, Al Horford is a tough matchup, and then having Baines who can muscle you off of the block, I get it. Boston's a really tough go. But I thought he posted up too often. He didn't look comfortable when he was not posted. It was just, there wasn't a really rhyme or a reason to what Philadelphia did last night, and a lot of possessions seemed extremely rote, and they had to kind of grind them out, and that's not the Sixers at their best. I mean, you look at Embiid and Simmons; these are two of the most athletic, gifted, supernatural players in the league, and they're running this, mid '90s Knicks offense. I had a hard time. I had a hard time pinning it all on Joel. I totally agree with you on the turnovers and the boneheaded plays and all that stuff, but I do think that the system is creating some of this disjointedness because the puzzle that they have created, the pieces just don't fit together right now. And, I can see one outlier in this group that might be clogging everything up.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Let's move on.
Let's stop shitting on Markelle Fultz. The kid's had enough.
Yeah. Let's talk about the game you were at last night. The game you were at last night was Thunder, Warriors. I guess that it was kind of interesting. The Warriors only won by 8. It was at least like relatively close, kind of coming down the stretch.
In theory.
The positives for the Warriors, I would say. Holy shit, Stephen Curry is good.
Yeah, I feel real good about that. Like, Steph Curry's going to finish second in the MVP voting thing. Like, he looked awesome in the preseason. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, and he just, every time he has one of those games, too, like yesterday, it was, 32 points, almost a triple-double, all that stuff, and you're like, oh, I felt like Steph Curry had more like 50. Like, it always just feels like he's far more influential than he actually is, and he was still just completely outstanding and superlative in every sense. It was he's really good. He's really good.
Kevin Durant was fine, I thought.
Yes, fine is accurate.
Klay Thompson,
defensively, I thought was pretty solid too.
Klay Thompson just shot terribly. 5 of 20 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. That genuinely might be like his worst shooting performance of the season.
Yeah. He his legs don't look under him. Yeah. And that is just fine because you have Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant.
But here's the other thing too, though. Draymond Green was a mess offensively. He was stinking. He was smelling the place out. Genuinely, like
bad. He was genuinely bad.
Well, offensively he was. Defensively, I thought he was like back to the Draymond of old. Like he was a monster all over the place, especially in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, he was
rebounding and grabbing and going. He was in passing lanes constantly. He made their life difficult at the rim. He was really, really good defensively, I thought.
I've seen a lot better.
Sure, like I'm not saying that like he played his best defensive game of his career, but like he was really good, I thought, on that end.
There were more than a few possessions where he overextended himself, and because his conditioning is not even close to where it should be right now, he only had 1 week of practice before the season started. He found himself extremely out of place and gave up very easy baskets. The Warriors just keep getting burned by back cuts. Steve Kerr's just livid with it, and it's just going to be something that happens all year because they just don't give enough of a damn. He did overcome his lack of conditioning with just some extreme level hustle, especially like late in the fourth quarter. That's Draymond Green. I mean, this is how he became an all-star. There's nothing special about him athletically. He's just going to outwork you, and on nights that he doesn't have it, he's going to have to find another gear to outwork even prior editions of Draymond Green. If he gets back into shape, he probably will not have to exert himself as much as he did to do some similar things. But total hot mess on the offensive end. I don't disagree with you, but I've seen him enough to know that like the rebounding and go stuff, the getting on the floor and diving for loose balls to, get a jump ball and change the timber of a game. Like that's kind of stuff that he always does. Maybe we had been separated from it for a few months, so we forget just how Draymondy he can be.
Yeah, no, they're going to have to figure out the offensive side. He might have just had a bad night. But
no, he's legitimately just out of shape.
Yeah.
Like it's not as if, and that's the entire thing for the Warriors. Like 108 points is kind of a low number for Golden State, but like apathy for one, and the second thing, they're just not even close. I mean, they look gassed at times. They're easing into this thing. They're still in first or second gear. Other than Steph, who I think came out. He was stupendous in the preseason. He was just outrageously good, and I think he's like, hey, I got an opportunity here to remind everybody that I'm still one of the best players in the NBA. Yeah. Y'all seem to want to drop me off of these lists. Like I'm right here. I'm the guy who changed the goddamn game.
Yeah, he has come out with something to prove, it seems like.
Right. I love using that term, so I avoided it. But yeah, that's exactly right.
But like honestly, though, like I'm not a huge fan of using it either. That's what it seemed like last night, though.
No, and I thought he was pretty damn solid on the defensive end, and there's still just so much. I mean, it's just he can do whatever he wants out there against an Oklahoma City defense, which I know that they don't have Robertson, and they didn't have Westbrook, but that's still a pretty damn good defense.
Yeah, no question.
Going to be one of the better defenses in the NBA. Without those guys, I can't imagine the heights that they'll reach when those guys are in the fold and playing at a high level. So he can do whatever he wants out there, man. And really the only thing that's holding Stephen Curry back is the amount of minutes he plays.
Two other things on the Warriors side. The center position was really, really good last night for the Warriors.
Yes, it was.
Damian Jones, 6 of 7 from the field, looked really, really good offensively, I thought. Mm-hmm. Defensively, he was out of position at the rim a bunch, like just wasn't quite there in terms of just knowing where to be and knowing how to let his athletic tools just kind of carry him over the line a little bit.
Right.
But Kevon Looney,
this is my guy.
I love Kevon Looney. I've always really been a big fan, like going back to the UCLA days.
Yeah.
He was unreal last night. In the 18 minutes that Kevon Looney was on the floor.
Throw this number at us.
The Warriors had a 55.9 net rating per 100 possessions.
The Lunaissance.
It's like here's the thing though, like it's not really the Lunaissance. He was
last year was the Lunaissance.
Yeah, like he was this from the midpoint last year onward.
No, he wasn't this offensively. He has taken a lot of he should have gotten a couple of offers in free agency.
Yeah,
the Warriors
I thought he should have gotten real money.
Yeah, the Warriors were stunned that he was still sitting there. I think he got 1 or 2 offers at the minimum. And he signed with the Warriors because like if I'm going to play for the minimum, I might as well play for the Warriors.
Right.
Because he doesn't understand how California taxes work. But
no, but like here's the thing: playing for the Warriors is better for him than playing elsewhere because
it's the DeMarcus Cousins argument.
Right, like he's going to get a chance to put up numbers for the Warriors, and he's going to get a chance to play minutes until DeMarcus comes back at least.
This motherfucker started an NBA Finals game.
Right. So, like, he's going to get a chance to put up his, 10 points and 10 rebounds like he did last night every night. So you might as well do it.
Someone's going to throw $10 million at him next year if he could play like this every night. But he put a lot of effort into the offensive end. Now, I will say this.
Here's the thing. Can we talk about the offensive end real quick, though?
Yeah, for sure.
When Kevon came out of college,
that was his thing.
He was an offensive player. He is a 6'10" dude who could put the ball on the deck and create and run pick and rolls. The fact that he is becoming we can use him in short rolls. We can use him as more than a guy who just catches the ball around the basket and scores. This is what he always should have been. He's really good.
Yeah. Now, if he can start showing off a 12 to 15 foot jump shot, it's game over. I mean, it's honestly game over. The guy doesn't have a lot. He's had, I think, 3 hip surgeries. He's not going to play above the rim. They love Jones because of their ability to just throw the ball anywhere near the cylinder, JaVale McGee style, and the fact that if he's in position, he can throw it down. I mean, he had some tomahawks Tuesday night. But Looney's defensive game, we saw it all playoffs last year. His ability to just fit into a switching system, to hold his own against isolation, should he get switched on to a guard or a ball handler. It's rock solid. In many ways, the game sort of came to him in that sense because he was always kind of that guy, but then the requirements of an NBA center sort of fell into that role. But if he could, again, the offensive game really has impressed. It impressed in the preseason. It looked really good. The one thing I, again, would want to be wary of is he got 8 offensive rebounds last night.
Yeah.
He did not get 8 offensive rebounds last night. I went through all of them. I put together a little cut-up for my column off of the game.
I would guess that 4 of them came from his own miss. Right?
Exactly. Some of them, from a blatant, I missed a 6-foot jumper, now I got my own miss. A couple of them from just getting blocked and then retrieving the ball, which it counts as an offensive rebound. And it was some pretty favorable scoring. He had about 3 or 4 good ones. Which, listen, in this modern NBA, that's an excellent number. No one's getting offensive rebounds in the modern NBA.
Yeah.
But, the Warriors are going to do the same thing that they did last year and the year before that, ever since Andrew Bogut left. They're going to play center by committee, and essentially each center has a role. Damian Jones is in there to throw down slam dunks. He is going to be the rim runner. He can just give them more minutes than JaVale McGee did last year, and he's a little bit more competent theoretically on the defensive end than McGee. So they're going to start him. They want him. They have him in a situation where they think he can have a long term, and so they are going to groom him to be the center for next year and the year after that. They want him to be the long term option there because, frankly, Looney's probably gone if he keeps playing like this, and Jordan Bell, if he ever gets a chance. I mean, I don't think he's going to go without offers this offseason.
Yeah.
And Boogie's gone.
Jordan Bell is interesting to me in a lot of ways because I was surprised he only got 7 minutes.
He was really out of position on defense a lot. Steve Kerr just doesn't trust him. He's so he freelances so much on the defensive end, and it creates a lot of and the offensive end, frankly. It creates a lot of spectacular plays and a lot of interesting opportunities for the Warriors, but it also just gives up easy baskets the other way. And as much as the Warriors are viewed as an offensive team, Kerr is a defensive-minded coach, at least in what he wants to preach. And if you're just missing assignments, if you're wayward in how you play defense, you're just not going to play. And they'll use him as an energy guy, but when Looney and Jones are playing that well, he's not going to stick somebody out there who's not doing the basics right.
Yeah, that's the thing. When Jordan Bell came out of Oregon, I think I had him in the top 20, top 22 on my board. I was a big fan of his.
There's a lot to be a fan of.
And the one thing that I thought he was the best defensive player in college basketball the year that Oregon went to the Final Four. Okay. And he just dominated games on that end. He blocked shots. He took on the toughest defensive assignment one-on-one. Him and switched everything. Beasts. Yeah, and Boucher was hurt for the NCAA tournament, and he just stepped up immediately and was fine. The thing with Bell that I keep coming back to is I remember having a conversation with someone who I think is really, really smart in the NBA. And
not me.
He works for a team. That's the reason I'm not going to say it. And what I keep coming back to is he told me, yeah, he was really good in college defensively, but if you go back and you look, he was just so much more athletic than everyone and played with such a high energy level that his it wasn't missed assignments, his over aggressiveness went unpunished, and that won't happen in the NBA. That is what we have seen a little bit of in his first year in a game. Like, the over-aggressiveness has been pretty consistent from Jordan Bell.
Let's add in the fact that the Warriors don't want to use Draymond Green at center this year because of the wear and tear. And the fact that he was banged up. Though Steve Kerr lied to everybody and did use Draymond Green at center for about 3 minutes yesterday. Mm-hmm. But they moved Looney into basically the backup power forward spot, which doesn't say a lot about Jonas Jerebko.
That was Jonas's minutes last night. Oh boy,
rough. Yeah, there's a reason that he fell out of favor in preseason games. They're going to have to make a decision on that fairly soon because this seems to be Omri Caspi 2.0. The fact that Looney is getting the backup power forward minutes is extremely telling. Bell was really good.
This is something I want to transition into, so continue.
Okay. Bell was really good last year when he played with Draymond Green because Draymond Green could cover up for Bell. Draymond would be the stable force. Bell would be the lightning bolt or whatever, and they work together really well, both on the offensive and defensive end. They are not going to get Bell and Green on the floor too often this year because they don't want to run Bell at center, and they
don't want Draymond taking the wear and tear of guarding centers.
Right, and they don't want Draymond having to basically hold up Bell because now he's got to guard two guys at one time. I mean, that's basically him playing center. Where he's, you're just letting Jordan Bell roam wherever he wants. Well, now Draymond has to pick up that slack. So, I know a lot of people are high on Bell. I do think that there will be opportunities for him, but he's got to shore up a lot of stuff. And in the meantime, again, like when Jones and Looney are playing like this, I don't know if it's sustainable. Certainly not this level. I think that they probably put out their best games early, but I think Looney can be solid on a night in, night out basis. Jones is going to have his up and downs, but I think there are higher highs and there are certainly going to be lower lows. But they're going to give Jones 25 minutes a game. They're going to give Looney 20 minutes a game. If Bell can put together some nice performances in practice, he'll get more run. If they're behind, he'll get more run.
This is where I'll jump in.
What do you got?
Because I'm very interested to see how this all works out when DeMarcus Cousins comes back. Because
aren't we all?
You would think potentially that Jordan Bell fits really well with Cousins, whereas Damian Jones doesn't.
Well, of course, they would not play Jones and Cousins together.
Correct.
It wouldn't make any sense, and they would be reluctant, I think, to play Looney, though they could, because it's a lot of plotting.
And what makes me think that we're going to see? I think we're going to see a lot of minutes with DeMarcus with the second unit.
Yes, for sure.
Last night, their second unit offense was absolutely a mess. Quinn Cook, 81.5 offensive rating in his minutes. Sean Livingston, 93.5. Jordan Bell, 85.7.
I'll say this real fast.
92.3.
They're going to give Klay Thompson a lot of time with the second unit to be the offensive anchor, something they did last year. You also had Andre Iguodala going out with the calf injury. No, it's not good, but they're going to keep trying. What they should be doing is having Kevin Durant anchor the second unit. Alas.
But here's the thing, none of it is going to matter when DeMarcus comes back, because that's what I would do.
Because
I would just have
DeMarcus anchors the second unit.
DeMarcus murder second units.
And then, and that gets him back into the mold. Right. Yeah. This is it's somewhat of what we were talking about with Fultz. If you're trying to rehabilitate a guy, put him out there, let him whoop on somebody, and then you graduate into the starting lineup once the playoffs start.
I'm not even saying don't start him. Start him, pull him after 5 minutes, and then have him come in with 1 minute left in the first quarter, have him start the second quarter, and just have him murder second units.
Now, I'll say this. It depends on when DeMarcus comes back, because if this early timeline that's being floated out there right now, that he'll be back before Christmas, and he could even be back in the next couple of weeks, if that's the case, then you absolutely have to give him, you have to ease him in a lot more. He has to start with a lot fewer minutes. I mean, we're talking 5, 10, 15 minutes max to go. So that's definitely second unit time. But then if he proves that, okay, he's got it, he's there, the explosiveness to whatever degree it can come back has come back, then you graduate and the whole thing is kind of tossed up. But you still have solid players in Looney and Jones and Bell for whatever he is. But I totally agree with you on the second unit thing. And that is something that...
it's something the Warriors need, I think. Because Andre Iguodala is not going to play 82 games this year.
No,
he left the game last night with calf soreness.
He might actually only play. I mean, honestly, play like 5. Like he'll be in. He'll be in hard. Like 70.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like, oh yeah, let's do something, and you could tell immediately whenever he's on the court, like if this game is important or not, based on how hard he plays.
Yeah, like I would.
It was really great for me.
Shut him down like through the month of January. Like just don't play him.
They might. I mean, like, legitimately.
Break glass in case of emergency.
And listen, Clay was not good at anchoring the second unit last year. He also went 1 for 8, and a lot of those were open shots.
Yeah,
so it changes that offensive rating pretty significantly if he knocks down 2 more. I mean, honestly. Now, they're going to give Quinn Cook like 15 minutes a night, which is... dangerous. Sean Livingston had to slide into Quinn. I love Quinn Cook too. You know who else loves Quinn Cook? Any opposing ball handler. They love it when Quinn Cook is guarding him. Somehow that dude's listed at 6'2".
Quinn was a very good defender in college by the end of his career because he knew where to be and because college defenders don't really have the size to like punish him.
Correct.
NBA players like Quinn tries really hard defensively.
That
and
helps.
He knows
that's the only reason he's in the NBA, if we're being honest. I think he's maxed out his defensive potential. No, he's always been a good offensive player. I mean, he just absolutely tore up the G League. I mean, it was laughable that he was in the G League. But then you see him, the Warriors had to use him in basically an emergency basis last year, and he played well offensively. But he's a net zero player if he plays well offensively because he's so bad defensively, and that has nothing to do with effort, it has nothing to do with technique. He's just small and gets pushed around, and the Warriors play a switchy defense, and he gets
it's a bad defensive
he just gets
fit
exposed
for him too. Yeah,
it's the worst defensive fit because he is not switchable. He needs to be on. If he could only guard TJ McConnell's, he'll be fine. But that's not how it works in Golden State. And there's a reason that they have used Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala as backup point guards in the past. It's because they want to keep the systems going. And frankly, the offensive system doesn't require a true out-and-out point guard. I'm curious to see if the Warriors stick with Cook for the extended period of time that for an extended period of time at the minutes that they want. But there's not a lot of other alternatives. I mean, they got Alfonso McKinney on the court for 2 minutes yesterday. I mean, Jonas Jerebko, who Steve Kerr would rather not play, had to play 6 whole minutes. Like, they don't have enough dudes. And Patrick McCaw actually now has some leverage in whatever the hell's going on with that contract negotiation.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about Patrick McCaw because
it's weird. It's weird.
Weird.
I want to say this about the Thunder.
Let's talk about the Thunder real quick because, honestly, I just don't know what the fuck matters.
Let's start with 2 guys. One, Raymond Felton is real bad, and it's kind of laughable that he's still around. The numbers don't bear this out. I actually really like this Nerlens Noel signing. I thought he did pretty well in his minutes, even though the net rating is poor and all that. That's going to be one hell of a 1-2 punch with Adams and Noel mid-season. I really liked that signing. I saw no reason to not like that signing. The Thunder do a great job of just developing wings out of nothing. I mean, Grant and Abrinas and Diallo. I thought Diallo was pretty good. But Paul George wasn't awesome at all. And I
thought he was good. Wasn't
I don't know, man. Especially in the fourth quarter, it's what are we doing here, Paul George? I just hold him to a higher standard, honestly, and maybe I'm wrong in that. I didn't see anything that. There were a couple of pretty awesome shots where he does that kind of hesitation pull up thing, and he got some baskets. Don't get me wrong, and he's awesome defensively. But man,
he's a ridiculously good defensive player who dropped 27 last night against the Warriors. I know he did it on 27 shooting possessions. I understand that the standard for Paul is incredibly high. He's one of the 15 best players in the NBA. Maybe he didn't play like a top 15 player last night, but he was very, very good.
No, I get that. But man, it just feels like so much of his offensive game is forced, and I question about how much. That's something I thought when Westbrook was, dishing the ball. Like, the other thing too is it's crazy. Dennis Schroeder is not it. As much as he's an upgrade, that's not the answer.
Through the first 3 quarters last night, Dennis was very good. For what you would expect of him. Let me rephrase. For what you would expect of Dennis Schroeder, he was very good for 3 quarters.
Okay, I mean he is
like he went for 21, 9, and 6 last night. Like and through the first 3 quarters, it was actually inefficient. Like he had 19. He probably had like 19, 7, and 4 through the first 3 quarters, and like was actually pretty efficient shooting the basketball, doing it too. He
had a couple of nice shots, to be fair. He's not like complete trash or anything, but man, again, him and George they really can force up some bad shots, man. And I guess they can get away with it because they're really talented. But
yeah,
I wonder how much was lost by not having Westbrook out there. And
all of it?
Yeah, probably all of it.
That's why I'm just like, should we really talk about the Thunder? Like, here's what I'll say. I liked the minutes Nerlens Noel gave them. I thought Steven Adams was very Steven Adamsy. He was
the most Steven Adamsy.
Effective inside defensively. He had
4 assists.
He was a very good passer too. That's a big thing that he added last year. He could really pass the ball. I liked the energy that Hamidou Diallo gave them.
Yeah.
Like, they're very
Patterson
athletic.
Was bad.
Patrick Patterson was really bad.
I don't know what happened. I mean, we're not talking just last night. I don't know what happened.
Like, the last 2 years.
I don't know what happened. Is he injured?
I'm not sure. But, like, he's...
Man, I loved that pickup when they got him.
Me too. I don't know what happened there.
What the hell happened?
But yeah, like, they look super athletic. They look like they have energy. It's probably just worth leaving it at that until Russ comes back.
Listen, when Russ comes back, you look at some of the pieces. There's not a lot of question marks. They have a solid bench. Raymond Felton won't have to play 13 minutes when Russ comes back.
Think about it this way. Without Russell Westbrook, they kept the game to 8 points against Golden State.
Right. Regular season Golden State, which is a different beast. But yes, absolutely.
Look, I'm not sitting here saying that this is some unbelievable performance. But the spread was good. The spread was like 13 points.
They covered, baby.
They covered. It was fun.
They made a go of it. And they're going to be really good defensively. And I think they're a little bit deeper than they were last year. Again, I'd like to. I thought their half court offense was a little stagnant. Like, who cares? Russ wasn't there.
Let's just
when Russ comes back, then 5 games after that, then we'll discuss.
Yeah. RX Bar is a whole food protein bar. Their bars are made with 100% whole ingredients. They want to be transparent and upfront with their customers, which is why they label the core ingredients on the front of the package and the ingredients that make up texture and taste on the back. Beyond being a go-to snack that checks off a number of nutritional boxes, RX Bars actually taste delicious. Their core ingredients do all of the talking. It's simply like eating 3 egg whites, 2 dates, and 6 almonds with 0 BS. It turns out that real food ingredients actually taste great. It's a shocker, I know, isn't it?
Who would have thought real food would taste good?
Whether you like sweet or savory, chocolate or fruit flavors, there's an RX bar for you. There's no added sugar, no artificial flavors. They also come in 11 delicious flavor varieties. And as of recent, there are 3 new flavors: mango, pineapple, peanut butter, and berries, and chocolate hazelnut. Also, they introduced RX Nut Butter, which is a brand new product that's made with the same core ingredients as RX Bar protein bars. The new nut butters include a base of nuts, egg whites, and dates, giving you 9% of clean protein. It's available in honey cinnamon peanut butter, and vanilla almond butter. It's great on pretzels and fruit, or just straight out of the package when you're on the go. I am a big RX bar believer. I think that it is just very, very easy and simple. I throw them in the bag if I'm going on a flight, like I'm going to be at Champions Classic in Indianapolis. I'll probably throw an RX bar whenever I have to get on that flight.
Nice.
It's just so simple and so easy to eat every single time that you need it.
And it's one of those things too. I don't eat them, but because I don't have protein bars anymore, the sugar. But
is that right?
No, I don't do sugar anymore. I've had enough. So clearly, plenty of it is already on my person. I could use up some of that. But I'll tell you this: I love having like a protein bar, a Quest bar, an RX bar, or whatever. When I am in the sugar mode, in the bag, it's strange to find bars that you'll actually eat more than once. So savor the moments that you can find them.
Go to rxbar.com/game theory.
We got a code for that?
Yeah, the code is game theory.
Is that a discount? What are we getting off of that?
There is a discount.
Hot damn.
Your discount here is going to be 25% off of that first order with free shipping. Go to rxbar.com/game theory. Enter that code game theory, GAMETHEORY at checkout, rxbar.com/game theory. We've got another sponsor here. It is a sponsor that's near and dear to my heart. I'm not going to lie to you. This is something that I use way too regularly. It is DraftKings, and I am very excited to do opening night DraftKings fantasy basketball. I was doing DraftKings, like I talked about with Dieter on, I think, 2 podcasts ago in the preseason.
Yeah, you're a degenerate.
Basketball season, though, the real basketball season is finally back, and you know what that means. It's time to put your basketball knowledge to the test with one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings. DraftKings is giving away $400 million in prizes this season. That is more than 10 times than what Los Angeles is paying LeBron James himself this year. No matter what your skill is, there's a contest waiting for you at DraftKings. Drafting your team is simple. Select 8 players and stay under the $50,000 salary cap. Earn points when your players score, assist, block, rebound, and more. And the best part is you get to draft a new team every day without any commitment. There's no better way to turn your love of basketball into cash. Download the app or head over to DraftKings.com now and use my code THEORY, that's THEORY, to support the show and play for free with your first deposit. Remember, there will be $400 million in total prizes up for grabs this season. That's code THEORY to play for free with your first deposit only at DraftKings.com. There's a minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. Go see DraftKings.com for details. Man,
make sure Sam can't get any of that $400 million.
I am so excited to bet on DraftKings tonight. You have no idea.
I know, that's the problem. I do. I know exactly how excited you are.
Like, Laura has netball tonight. I am going to be right in front of the TV.
Has there been more of an Australian sentence than that, by the way?
Laura has netball tonight out here in Los Angeles. Yes, it's a very Australian sentence. Oh, man. Between that and between, like, me
your
constantly
Aussie rules
refreshing.
Football.
Yeah, between constantly refreshing,
it's
like, the trade
day.
deadline for Australian rules football. It was bad. It was bad.
So many
yesterday.
4th-round picks.
Oh, my God. Hey, Essendon got a 4th-round pick yesterday for Travis Collier. I'm all in.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
The last thing we're going to do.
This man is off the deep end. Draft Kings and AFL.
And like all I've got in my life right now.
And Great British Bake Off, which you're like seasons behind. We're watching over here.
Yeah.
With the Brit in the house, we're watching the live season, baby. We got this thing bootlegged all the way over to Scotland. We're up to date. We're a season ahead of all of you suckers on Netflix. If you're up to date on Netflix,
someone tweeted at me last night, like, you're like way behind on the Great British Bake Off thing. You know that, right? And I'm just like, I know, but I make up for it in intensity of fandom. I am out here baking now because of
we've noticed. Yeah. That was a hell of a cheesecake the other night.
Cheesecake is great. The bundt cake actually came out a little bit better. I'm not going to lie to you.
Really?
It did.
It's tough. Bundt cakes go dry, man.
The cheesecake, to quote Mary Berry, I regret to inform you, had a soggy bottom.
Oh, don't we all, though?
You can't have a soggy bottom, folks. There's also a little bit too much egg in the mixture itself.
Probably the culprit there.
Yeah, it didn't like scramble or anything, but there's a little too much egg, I think.
You're familiar with the fact that Mary Berry is no longer a judge.
I know.
Okay, I just wanted to make I didn't know if you were in a cone of silence or something with the Great British Bake Off.
I know all about Paul Hollywood and
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know about the handshake? Are you familiar with some of the ins and outs of the Bake Off?
Oh yes, the handshake is something I aspire to. I hope at some point Paul Hollywood comes out here to Hollywood, California.
Oh my god!
And I get the Paul Hollywood handshake. That is the dream. Even though
big Liverpool fan, Paul Hollywood.
Is he really?
Old blue eyes, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic news. That is.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know how he feels about Essendon.
The last thing we're going to do here on this episode is we're going to talk about the teams we're excited to watch this week.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great idea. Dieter actually came up with it. It's a way to notice how I said that real quick and real soft. It's a good idea, just like so that we don't necessarily
finally contributed.
Yeah, so we don't necessarily like overreact about stuff,
right.
But like just hey, we're excited. Basketball season's here. One thing that I'm trying to be more this year is like more positive. I want to be like I want to still look at things with a critical eye.
I'm not.
But I want to make sure that like people know, hey, I'm really happy to be watching basketball. I'm really happy to be like enjoying sitting in front of a TV or sitting at a game this year and looking at this thing. Like I'm still going to look at stuff with a critical eye.
Going to town.
We're still going to call out when Markelle Fultz doesn't look very good on opening night, but I just want people to know that, you know, we're here and we love it. So, Dieter...
Here's the thing. I am not going to be that positive, but I appreciate you trying on behalf of all of us pessimists.
Who are you excited to watch this week?
I will say this. I'm very excited to watch the Indiana Pacers this week because I know that you and I are both high on what Indiana can do in the Eastern Conference this year. Obviously, with the vacuum that LeBron James has left, it's up for the taking. The Celtics look great. We don't know what's going on with the Sixers. We think that the Bucks are going to make a jump. We know that Kawhi is there, but the Pacers are a team that is somewhat of that ilk. They're around that area, and they have a really interesting first week. They start off tonight, Wednesday night, with the game against the Grizzlies. That's somewhat of a twofer for me because I'm really interested in seeing the Grizzlies. I'm high on the Grizzlies, and it just seems like a really evenly matched game to me, and I'm fascinated to see how those two teams match up and kind of what shows out and what doesn't look so great in the early goings. Don't want to make too much of a judgment either side, but I would like some confirmation bias, if you will. And then they play the Bucks on Friday night, and that is a grade A marquee game. There's a couple of them on Friday night. I think who else plays? Boston, Toronto play on Friday night. That'll be a great game. But I'm actually more interested in watching the Pacers and the Bucks because I want to see which of those two teams stands out compared to the other because I think they're going to be right around the same record in theory. But if the Bucks look really a lot better, if the Pacers look a lot better, that could sway me one way or another. They then have a back-to-back. They play the Nets on Saturday at home. Not as interesting of a game, but back-to-backs are always tough. It would tell me something about these Pacers if they can go and they get a win against the Bucks. If they win the next night, that tells me a lot about the depth of that team and about their focus early on in the season. And then a game Monday against the Timberwolves. Not only do I enjoy watching car wrecks.
Yeah. Let's transition into my team that I'm most excited to watch now. Oh boy, will I be tuned in for every Minnesota Timberwolves game this week.
You and I will be watching the same game Monday night. But,
they play San Antonio tonight, which interesting game because San Antonio needs to figure out its point guard situation, DeMar DeRozan infusion, everything. They play Cleveland on Friday night. Interesting because no LeBron. They got Luka Doncic and Dallas on Saturday. They have Indiana on Monday. So they have 4 games in 6 days, first and foremost.
Yeah, with that guy who's
with
still
Jimmy
on
Butler
the team.
back. So these guys are going to have to play with each other, for 4 times.
You think Jimmy Butler yells at anybody on his team? Like, actually, that's going to happen. He's going to just yell at Wiggins or Cat, tell them that they're soft or something mid-game or just have a temper tantrum. The question is, how many quarters into the season does it happen?
Oh my God. Just so excited to watch that. Who else? I would say I am excited to watch the Mavericks too, just in general.
Yeah. Agreed on that. Yeah, they're going to be a team, especially if the game is interesting late. That's an easy flip them on league pass team.
The Jazz are minus 8.5 tonight against Sacramento.
What?
So I will be tuned in for that game because I will have money on that game.
I think as would anyone who saw that last preseason game. Dave Yeager's acid phase.
Yeah, the Jazz are another team that I'm going to be excited to watch.
By the way, thank you to whoever sent Sam and
through
proxy myself the actual tracking. They hand started, I suppose, the data of what happened when Dave Yeager used the 4-center lineup. Not good.
Genuinely, I'm shouting this guy out. His name is Touchdown Al on Twitter.
The Touchdown Al?
I don't know, but -3 with 0 points, 2 fouls, and a turnover. Oh, boy. Thank you, Touchdown Al.
Oh, Dave. What are we going to do with you?
Genuinely the best.
It's so bad. It's so sad. I want the Kings to be good.
But on Friday, the Jazz do have a game against Golden State that I think is going to be...
Let's talk about that game for a half second here, which for me is about 10 minutes. But the Warriors already looked sluggish, right, in their opening game of the season. And there's no reason to think that sluggishness is just going to wear off after one game. They're out of shape. And so now they get to travel to Utah, elevation 4,225 feet. And then after that, they play Sunday in Denver. Like, if you want to fade the Warriors, do it now.
Yeah, that Denver game, just calling my name. This
Utah game is calling your name.
Bet money on me. Give me your money.
Please, it's the siren song of Utah. The siren song of Denver. By the way, also, if you want to fade the Warriors even harder, feel free to bet on the Phoenix Suns to cover Monday night because the Warriors will be coming back from Denver. And, if there was ever a time that the Phoenix Suns were going to beat the Warriors at Oracle Arena, second game of a back-to-back early in the season when they're out of shape and just played at elevation, that's a good time to do it.
Yeah. Trying to think, is there anything else?
We do have some pretty interesting national matchups. The game I'm probably most excited to watch Wednesday night is this Pelly's-Houston game. I'm pretty pumped about that. Friday we have Boston-Toronto, that Milwaukee-Indiana game that I mentioned previously, and then Saturday Houston and the Lakers. So pretty damn good opening slate, all things considered.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Lakers too.
They're weird.
LeBron.
They're just going to be fun.
LeBron team, yeah.
Weird LeBron team, interesting. They're going to run at just a breakneck pace. Kyle Kuzma has gone from shooting guard to center.
But are they good? I'm so interested to see how that's going to work practically, because
yeah. They might start that way.
Yeah, everyone every season says with LeBron James, we're going to run, we're going to pick up the pace. And
then LeBron decides come Thanksgiving that he's done with that shit.
And it just doesn't happen. So,
he might do it this year, though. They don't really have much of an option but to do it this year, if we're being honest.
Kind of think that's right, though, yeah.
But I don't know how many games LeBron's going to play.
I don't know. We'll see.
He'll play early. I think Saturday, that home opener, for him. So he's not resting this early, but I would not be surprised if LeBron takes a Miami. Well, I guess he's already in LA. He might take a Mexico sabbatical midway through the season. Just take a couple of weeks off, Raheem Sterling style.
Here's the thing though. If they want to make the playoffs, I don't know if he can do that.
Well, then he gonna die because that's a lot of possessions for old LeBron. Luke Walton's got his work cut out for him.
I don't know.
He paid a lot of money.
Should we really think about LeBron in the same way we think of mere mortals, in the way that their body deals with stresses?
No, but LeBron, this is the grand paradox of professional sports. Clearly they are exceptional outlying human beings, but LeBron spends millions of dollars every year to keep his body
right
at and that's stuff we don't see, and it's stuff that he won't despite the fact that the man has multiple media companies and wants to have every conversation that he has on tape. That's the stuff he won't show because he thinks it's a massive competitive advantage,
right,
that he does that stuff and other guys don't. He's levels beyond where most guys are, and guys are really pushing that envelope. So I don't know. It's paradoxical for sure in the sense that he's not mortal, but perhaps he's buying some of that immortality.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it, at least. So,
and he will break at some point. I don't think this is the year. I'm certainly not hoping he breaks at any point. He's incredible, but he's not literally immortal, right? Okay. I mean, that's I have to phrase it like that because when it came out of my mouth, I thought he might be.
Is he?
Yeah. 50-year-old LeBron James putting up major minutes at the 5.
Is there anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
We were going to talk about Venom.
Venom is. I will say this about Venom. It
Sell me on Venom.
It was more fun than what I think the reviews get across.
Do you think that the issue is that now these Marvel movies and all of just this entire universe, there's so many superhero movies that you kind of had to go the Dark Knight route and you actually had to make a decent movie?
Well, see, like
Venom is kind of an old school.
It's so interesting movie. Because like Venom is, and there's going to be like a second Venom. It's fucking killing at the box office.
Right.
Venom is, it's not like a traditional Marvel movie by Disney. I want to say it was it by Sony?
Oh, sure. Okay.
I think
they would have those rights. Spider-Man rights are Sony, right?
Well, not anymore to Spider-Man, but I think that
Columbia Pictures.
Yeah, I want to say that's an offshoot of Sony.
Okay.
I should know this, having worked.
Yeah, right. Isn't
in
this
the
your
industry.
thing?
Let me.
Columbia Pictures. You keep talking.
Yeah, it's Sony.
Yeah, it's a member of Sony. Yeah.
So I think that you have to keep in mind is that like it's not going to have that tone of a traditional Marvel movie. That's very
fine. I'm not really into those Marvel movies, if I'm being honest.
Different. It's not a particularly well-written movie.
Good. Because, I love poorly written movies.
Yeah, like the screenplay kind of jumps all over the place. I think that the first 30 minutes are like kind of actively bad.
Cool.
But the relationship between Venom and Eddie is very good. Like it's written perfectly.
Okay.
And it actually makes up for everything else because while the relationships like outside of that in the movie are a disaster.
Right. That's the only one that matters.
Yeah, the central relationship between Eddie and Venom is basically perfectly written, and it makes up for a lot of the faults of the movie. And like, hey, there are some cool action scenes, and like they really did a nice job of making Venom equally terrifying as hilarious in the way that it looks.
That's Venom. I mean, that's the entire shtick.
Yeah.
Of Venom. That's the Venom I grew up with. So I'm in. I'll go see it.
So like,
I'll go see it. Don't see First Man. It's terrible.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's like the most amazing movie ever, but I would watch a second Venom movie.
Okay. I can get behind that.
So
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'll go see it. I missed. That's the other thing too. Like, I knew it was going to be in theaters for a long period of time, so I knew I have a wide berth in which to fit it into my calendar. So, you have the AMC Movie Pass thing, right?
I do.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
It was an incredibly good decision.
Well, you're very close to an AMC theater, whereas I am not.
Right.
I have to drive, though. If I do go into the city, here's the kicker.
Yeah, so living in Hollywood really helps when it comes to being able to find movie theaters.
Well, no, I have movie theaters coming out my ears over here in Oakland. I have them in San Francisco. But Movie Pass was the catch-all, right? And so I could go to any theater. Heather and I saw a ton of movies. We can go to Alameda. There's great old theaters. There's great new theaters. It's fantastic. Any movie we want to see, we can see it. Go up to Berkeley. They have all of those artsy-fartsy films that I love. Like, it's great stuff. But now I'm paying real money. And it's really, I'm like Markelle Fultz out there. I'm just overthinking everything. And if I had the AMC, I would get immediate value if I just go see one movie, literally one movie in IMAX a month at the AMC Metreon in downtown San Francisco, right where my girlfriend works. I can get on the train. I can be there in 15 minutes. It's a piece of cake. I don't know if I can commit to one movie a month in a city I don't live in.
Yeah, so here's my pitch on the AMC thing, which they're not paying me for, but I think it's actually really good. The AMC thing, the reason that we like it is that you keep building points toward like getting free shit, like at the concession stands.
That's important.
B, you can pre-book seats. Like you don't have to be within like 0.5 miles or whatever the hell it is for.
Yeah,
like,
it was a mess. It was
like
a mess
0.1 miles for Movie Pass.
Yeah, you had to be in the lobby.
Yeah, to do it. So you can pre-book, and that's way easier, I think.
Sure.
You can do like big screens like IMAX and stuff like that.
Do the IMAX stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, so it's just a much better product. It is $20 versus $10. So like if you see 2 movies a month versus like just like at Movie Pass levels, if you saw 1 movie a month, you were getting
you broke even. Well, I was actually getting surplus value because at the Metreon it costs $16. I mean, it's downtown San Francisco, and it's $20 for IMAX. So I was getting surplus value on 1 movie a month. I could commit to that. Or I was getting surplus value if I went to the Grand Lake Theater in downtown Oakland on the other side of the Lake Merritt where I'm at. That was, you do $5 Tuesdays twice, and I'm getting equal value. So like, it's amazing that business model didn't work.
Shocker. The AMC one, I think, is a little bit more sustainable. We'll see.
For sure.
Plus, it's like just a single chain of theaters, so that helps.
Yeah, I just wish I had an AMC within walking distance. That would change the ball game.
But I would suggest it for anyone who has an AMC relatively close to them.
If you go to an AMC often, as someone who misses Movie Pass dearly, please get it.
Can I also just say, like, the theaters at City Walk out here in Universal City.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
You go over the hills?
Yeah, I go over the hill for it sometimes. It's really not that far for me because
no, it isn't.
Yeah,
it isn't. And traffic's probably not that bad either.
Right, because we're going out of the city versus into the city. So like it's probably like 3 or 4 miles from me. Oh my God. It is like legit. You can like lay down in the movie theater now because the seat is that comfortable and it is like that retractable and there's that much space in between people.
It's the basic recliner seat, right? That they've put into most, if not all, of the AMC. It's like the luxury theater, right?
Yeah, it's like it's more luxury than other AMCs I've been to.
Okay, because I once fell asleep during the middle of The Judge, which is an objectively terrible movie, at an AMC in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which just doesn't sound great coming off the tongue. But yeah, those chairs are like dangerous. Like there's always people falling asleep in them. Yeah,
it's amazing. It is just
and people snore.
So
like I don't think people understand how many people snore out there. It's incredible.
Oh my God, Dieter, tell the people where they can find your work.
Oh, maybe at the San Jose Mercury News for the time being, and on Twitter at @Kurtenbach. Kurtenbach, but who knows anymore?
Big fan of the Academy Award nominated movie The Judge.
Did that really get nominated for an Academy Award?
I think Robert Duvall got nominated, yeah.
Okay, sure. That movie was bad.
I'll be honest, I've never seen it. It just didn't look great.
You shouldn't see it. No one should see it. I mean, it was. Here's the thing. I was kind of excited about the premise of the movie The Judge, and then I saw it, and I fell asleep. And I go, well, I fell asleep. I didn't really get the whole thing. And then I actually watched it, like, on, I don't know, some on-demand thing or whatever. And I'm like, no, there was a reason I fell asleep. This movie was terrible. But still, First Man was just a little bit better.
Shout out Jeremy Strong from Succession, who was apparently in that movie.
He was. Succession was so good.
We'll have a conversation about Succession next
Do you not
time.
like Succession?
It's very bizarre. I will say this. I was like half in, half out until the last episode, and I am like fully in now. But
sir,
it took some time.
Wow, did not see that coming. I was all in from like the first 30 minutes, just all the way in. And listen,
they're all pretty trash people.
Oh no, they're the worst. That's the best part. They're the worst people. Man,
I was more than half in until the last episode, and I'm fully in.
I cannot believe you were so skeptical about Succession. Yeah, it's a mess. It is a hot mess, but it feels like an authentic hot mess. Like that's what they were going for.
Yeah, I can see that.
As opposed to a lot of other stuff where you're like, this is, who the hell directed this? Like I thought it was well directed and still a mess.
Yeah, and like all the performances are really good.
What's not to like, other than every single one of the characters?
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the thing. Like everyone except Greg.
Maybe this Greg is the slyest of them all.
I know, it's great.
Just lay low on Greg, baby.
Greg the motherfucking egg.
Exactly. Like maybe this speaks to my personality more than anything else, but I love Succession.
It does speak to your personality a lot now that I think about it. Go to The Athletic/Game Theory. Get 30% off of your year-long subscription. We'll be back next week talking about basketball. Who the hell knows? There will be more podcasts.
Maybe we're gonna. This is a Succession podcast now, sir.
Yeah, we'll have Chris Stone on later this week. We'll have Tony Jones later this week. But until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.